trade goods, Native Americans began selling war captives to whites rather than integrating them into their own societies. Okay, the West Indies developed as plantation societies prior to the Chesapeake Bay region and had a demand for labor. Colonists in the South began to capture and enslave Native Americans for sale and export to the Sugar Islands, as well as to the northern colonists. The result, the North American slave trade devastated the southern eastern North American populations and transformed tribal relations throughout the southeast. In the 17th and 18th century, the English at Charlestown, South Carolina, the Spanish in Florida, and the French in Louisiana sought trade partners and allies among Native Americans by offering trade goods such as metal knives and axes, firearms and ammunition, liquor and bread and cloth and hats in exchange for fur, deerskin, and Native American slaves. Okay, and they, that's part of the curses. It was that goes into Deuteronomy. Let me get it real quick. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 54. All right. It says, so that a man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. All right. Why? Because you had these tribes selling their own brethren, all right, their own people, into the hands of their enemies. All right, just for goods. That was part of the curses. Their eyes shall be evil towards their brother. All right. And towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Okay. That's Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 54. That's part of the curses. Traders, frontier settlers, and government officials encouraged Native Americans to make war on other tribes to reap the profits of slaves captured in such raids and to weaken the warring tribes. Now that's Esau, the so-called white man, doing what the Lord hates, because he's a damn abomination. The Lord gonna pay his ass back for doing that. But that was part of our judgment. Okay. This is Proverbs 6 and 16. It says, these 6 things doeth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood. Talking about the so-called white man. He's the one that has a proud look. And he's known as a liar. And he is known as the bloodshed, the violent man. Alright, he sheds blood. Alright, and heart that devises wicked imaginations, feet that be swift to run to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. And that's what you read right here. It says traders, frontier settlers, and government officials, which all those were so-called white men, encouraged Native Americans to make war on other tribes to reap the profits of slaves captured in such raids, or to weaken the warring tribes. Okay, because they have a saying amongst the so-called white men, it's called divide and conquer. Okay, which that all goes back to the Romans and that style of fighting. Salakia, I'll be right back. Alright. Ah, shit. Alright. Divide and conquer. So a way that you can divide the people and conquer them is have them fight against themselves, and once they taken out the stronger, the strength amongst the tribes, then they just go in and take down the rest of them. Alright, and that was the strategy of how they took down all the tribes, man. Okay. It says historians have estimated that tens of thousands of Native Americans were enslaved. Alright? Were enslaved. Okay? So this is how we know the so-called white man, he gonna be judged. Okay? Because the scriptures talk about enslavement. Alright? Unjustly. I'm going to steal. Alright. Yeah, get that in 1 Timothy's. Alright. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8 through 10. It says, "But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for man-stealers, for liars, for perjurous persons, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine." Now I said man-stealers. Now when you go into that word man-stealers, pull that up real quick. I don't know how Satan say it. It's kind of hard Greek word to pronounce. Now we just got out of this documentary. We went in about them talking about how they had kidnapped the Seaweed people. Alright. And then took them to the West Indies and put them on auctioning blocks to sell them. And it was the Englishmen. This is the Greek word, Strong's Greek.
Strong's G405. I'm dropping this taste. I'm dropping this taste.
Okay. It means a slave dealer, kidnapper, man-stealer, of one who unjustly reduced free men to slavery, of one who steals the slaves of others and sell them. Now the so-called white man is guilty of that, and that's contrary to sound doctrine. Sound doctrine is what's located in the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay? If you kidnap someone, which that's what they did, let's get that real quick. You kidnap someone, or you steal them and make merchandise of them. Alright? It's a judgment on that. This is Exodus 21:16. "And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death." Okay, it says and he that stealeth a man. Now they was taken or kidnapped, or like it says right here, they had raids where they would go and steal the people. Okay. Alright. And selleth him, and they sold him. Alright. Or if he be found in his hand, means still under his in his possession, which we still are. Alright. He shall surely be put to death. So the judgment that he shall receive is death. Okay. Deuteronomy 24:7. It says, "If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and make merchandise of him, or sell of him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you." Now, Esau is the brother of Jacob. Okay, Esau is the father of you so-called white people and so-called Jewish people, alright, which are the biblical Edomites and Amalekites. Okay, alright, and you are related to Jacob, which is the father of the 12 tribes, which consists of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American descent. Okay, on your father's side, making you Israelites. Alright? He stole his brother. Okay? Then he sold him to make merchandise of him. Alright? He's guilty of death, like the scriptures say. Okay? Because like it said back in 1 Timothy 1:10, when it said man-stealers, the Greek word again was
Strong's G405. I'm dropping this taste. I'm dropping this taste.
Mean a slave dealer, kidnapper, man-stealer, of one who unjustly reduced free men to slavery, of one who steals the slaves of others and sell them. Okay? And that's what the so-called white man is guilty of. Okay? Alright? Get that in Zechariah. Now you know you're gonna get certain people, which is said that the economy down here in the South boomed off of the slavery, enslavement, and selling of Native American slaves. Okay, this is Zechariah 11:4. Thus saith the Lord, my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. Alright? Talking about these so-called white people, because when we bring up the history of them destroying the North American Indians, alright, to obtain this land, alright, going into Habakkuk 1:6, alright, which I broke that down already before in the previous video, alright, which they call manifest destiny. When they were slaying them, they hold themselves not guilty, okay, alright. And there's plenty of accounts of massacres, alright, that you read about where the U.S. cavalry or soldiers, mainly Edomites, will slaughter whole villages or whole groups of tribes of people and get off. They won't get no punishment, okay. So they slay, it says, Zechariah 11:5, whose possessors slay them hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord, for I am rich. And their own shepherds pity them not. That's right. And that's what happened. They got rich off of that. And then they called themselves blessing the Lord because they considered us savages. Alright? Talking about you so-called white people when you the bunch of damn savages, man. Demons. Okay? Back to the article. It says, historians have estimated that tens of thousands of Native Americans were enslaved. It is estimated that Carolina traders operated out of Charlestown shipped an estimated of 30,000 to 50,000 Native American captives between 1670 and 1715, and a profitable slave trade with the Caribbean, Spanish Hispaniola, and northern colonies. Because it was more profitable to have Native American slaves, whites and northern colonists sometimes preferred Native American slaves, especially Native women and children, to Africans. When it's talking about Africans, it's talking about you so-called Negroes, which is of the tribe of Judah. Okay? Alright? The unusual exchange rate of captive Native Americans for enslaved Africans during this time period was 2 or 3 Native Americans to 1, and the Southwest Spanish colonists and Native Americans sold or traded slaves at many of the trade fairs along the Rio Grande. Slave traders preferred captive Native Americans who were under 18 years old, as they were believed to be more easily trained to new work. In the Illinois country, French colonists baptized as Catholics Native American slaves whom they bought for labor. Okay, they believed it essential to convert Native Americans to Catholic faith. Church baptismal records have thousands of entries for Native slaves. Okay, which this is documented. I mean documented. It's on the records. Okay. Alright, documented proof, alright, that they had Native American slaves, man. Okay. The French. Alright, which it was the French that mainly took down Gad that was up there in Canada. Okay. Alright. Okay. Because the tribe of Gad is the Native Americans of Canada and of North America. Because you also had the Mexicans, okay, as well as the Seminole Indians in this region as well. And what is the United States? They dwelt in this land. Okay, this is in the Spanish colonists. The church assigned Spanish surnames to Native Americans and recorded them as servants rather than slaves. Many members of Native American tribes in the West will be taken against their will for life as slaves. In the East, Native Americans were recorded as slaves. So, like I said, you have